Good morning, all-American savages, to my lost savage nation out there. My name is John Burke, and welcome back to the All-American Savage podcast. Still missing Josh. It is Thursday, a beautiful, bright, clear day here right outside of Dallas. Right outside of Dallas. I have not had my coffee this morning, as you can clearly tell. A lot of news to cover today. And I first want to start the show with showing you this really amazing piece that was sent to me at the Shell Shock HQ. I rarely get fan mail, but I sincerely appreciate these amazing gifts that are sent to me. This came from Charles, who's an engraver. He's still in the military, but he does an engraving thing. I posted this on my Instagram, and for those listening, it's a piece of wood with an engraving of myself and a photo that I had done with tack gas. And he's also got the word penis written on there, and then a nice big dick on the back of this thing, and it can be mounted. And Charles wrote me this letter, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing it, but it's a very well-written letter, and I appreciate it. He says, John, just wanted to show you some love for the show and Shell Shock. Your Delta 8 has been absolutely a game changer for my wife's anxiety and insomnia. As soon as I ETS, I plan on becoming a regular user myself. I truly appreciate the unique perspective that you provide on your podcast, even on occasions that you and I don't arrive at the same conclusion on an issue. I find your rhetoric to be very thought-provoking. I admire your success in business and know that it doesn't come easy. I would love to see you do an episode on how to start a small business. Right now, engraving is a hobby and side hustle for me. However, in time, I would like to make it my full-time occupation. I would gladly take any advice you can give on starting a company. And then he gives me his email that if I wanted to reach out and do more. Charles, I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for this amazing engraving. I won't lie, you've done very well. This is an incredibly well-done piece here. The detail is just insanely well done. So, sir, I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for that time you took to do that for me. I sincerely appreciate this. And we're building a new studio in the back of the Shell Shock HQ, and this will be hung up back there. I am incredibly grateful for those kind words of support, and it truly does mean a lot when people do things like that, and I am always greatly appreciative of it. So, all right. With that being said, I want to get into the news. We're going to skip this day in history because there's a lot to cover here, so let's get started. All right, for those that don't know, this was circulating all day yesterday. I got tagged in it a million different times. Jussie Smollett released from jail on bond while he appeals his conviction. You got to love that. You got to love that. Hate crime hoaxer and disgraced actor Jussie Smollett has been released from jail on bond pending his conviction appeal. The move comes after Smollett's lawyers filed for the actor to be released as he appealed his conviction. How often does that happen? Just sincerely, how often does that happen? His grandmother gets up there and screams at the judge, if he goes to jail, you better send me too. Okay, Grandma, shut up. His brother sits there and tries to tout how he's already been through so much. He's been through so much. He shouldn't serve time. He's already served his time in the court of public opinion and humiliation. No, absolutely not. And then Jussie sits there and tries to throw the race card about the history of black oppression in America. Yada, yada. No, Jussie. Sorry, bud. You're a gay black dude in Hollywood. Your job you had a great job and you fucked it up. You are no victim of a hate crime, and you've got a history of doing this. And this piece of shit, this race-baiting piece of shit comes out here, appeals his conviction, and is released. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And the BLM and the rest of these morons want to sit there and decry about how racist the system is. So it can boil down to two things, black privilege or wealthy privilege, one of the two. And I'm betting it's black privilege. And then he gets moved around into prison because apparently he's a threat to himself or some shit like that. Get out of here. God, come on. If this had been a white guy, come on. Where's all the celebrities that endorse Jussie? Where's Kamala? Where are all these people? You tweet out these messages of support before the trial even happens because you're automatically assuming he's guilty or he's innocent based upon his skin color and his sexuality. But then come to find out a jury of his peers finds this kid to be guilty. And now what? You're quiet? You say nothing? No apologies like, hey guys, I got this one wrong. Instead of pushing for due process, No, you went the opposite way. That's the epitome of black privilege in America as a minority. Your word gets instantly taken because you're a part of the groups out there that are just so oppressed. Hey, it's St. Patrick's Day today. You want to talk about an oppressed people? Look at the Irish. Why don't the Irish cry as much as the black people do in America as far as those that stand for this idea of the BLM and oppression? Why aren't the Irish or the Chinese or the Asian, why aren't the minority communities out there just as loud and whining as black liberals and white liberals in regards to oppression in America? Why aren't they? Crazy to me. Not even the Jewish community. Once again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease in this country, and white America is tired of it. I'll say it. White America is fucking tired of it. We're sick and tired of having it thrown in our faces about how we are guilty of this, that, and the other when we had no hand in the history of this nation. Well, you're benefiters of it. So are you. You are benefiting from over 500,000 white people dying for your freedom. But you go quiet. You go very silent on that. You don't say a word on that. Not a damn peep. Jussie Smollett is another example of black privilege, gay privilege, wealth privilege in this country and how you get out of everything. Because as soon as you throw the race card, you think people are instantly going to take your side. As soon as you cry racism, you think people are instantly going to take your side. It's over. You've destroyed yourselves, and justifiably so. The more you screamed wolf because you didn't get things your way. Boston BLM leader, husband charged with fraud and conspiracy. A prominent Black Lives Matter leader in Boston and her husband have been charged with using $6,000 grant to take at-risk youth to a Philadelphia retreat on themselves for a getaway to Maryland, restaurants and shopping sprees, among other things. Monica Cannon Grant, 41, founder of the nonprofit Violence in Boston, and her husband Clark Grant, 38, were charged Tuesday in an 18-count federal indictment, including charges for wire fraud and making false statements to a mortgage lending business. In June of 2019, she was given a check for $6,000 for a trip to Philly to give these young men exposure to communities outside of the violence-riddled neighborhoods they navigate daily, the Boston Globe reported. This woman also has a history of racist rhetoric. Are you not seeing the massive grift by black people towards their own? Are you not seeing this now? This has nothing to do with racism and everything to do with culture. This is your culture. You rob from yourselves. Not all, of course, but I'm talking specifically about the BLM, the biggest Marxist grift, and you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. You fell for the emotional narrative perpetuated by the likes of Colin Kaepernick and the rest of these morons who come out there and say like the NFL draft is like a slave trade, and yet you're still out there posting about how you want to come back. Nobody wants to touch you. The NFL is a business. Let me explain something to people out there. The NFL is a business. If I am a business owner and I've got this QB, who, by the way, statistically is not even very good. The liberal left praises, he was such a wonderful quarterback. But they hated him because he was black. This guy was benched. He was not a prominent QB in the NFL. And then he comes and he says in his documentary about how he had to face, you were raised by white parents, dude. You were raised by white parents, wealthy white parents. Shut the fuck up. You don't know jack shit about the struggle of inner ghetto children having to deal with shit. You don't. How dare you sit there and try and posture yourself as if you're one of them? You can speak and help them, but to sit there and identify and say you're with them, you're fucking 100% wrong. You are wrong. But then Colin turns around and talks about how, he's ready to come back. If I was an NFL team owner and I look at this one quarterback who statistically is not very good, and secondly comes with nonstop drama surrounding his name, I'm not touching that dude. Fuck no. You did this to yourself. You are no victim. There was no racism levied against you. Just like Jussie, you do this to yourselves, and then you turn around and you wonder why the world, much less this country, does not like you. This is the bed that you made so you can sleep in it. Jussie Smollett is another example of black privilege. If white privilege exists in America, and I say this for the sake of arguing the left on this whole white privilege bullshit, as well as like cis privilege or heterosexual privilege. Everything is privilege these days. I don't remember any of this privilege when I was serving overseas. I don't remember any of this privilege when my dad walked out. I don't remember any of this privilege when my mom was working 2 jobs to support myself and my brother. Where was this privilege at? Because this privilege is generalized just like racism. If one black person is violent, then all black people must be violent. If one dude has some privilege based upon his skin color, then all white people are the same. Right? I'm just going by your method of thinking here. That's just me. Where's this privilege at? I'm still waiting on that to be seen. I don't see it. But Jussie Smollett gets out of jail after he screams and cries and whines. Didn't even serve a week. And is released. An appeals court ordered the release of Smollett from jail on bond on Wednesday as the appeal of his conviction is pending. It's pending. Wasn't even approved. It was pending. Appellate Court Justices Thomas Hoffman and Joy Cunningham signed the order, while Justice Maureen Consers dissented. Smollett's attorney argued that he would have completed the sentence by the time the appeal process was completed, and that the actor could be in danger of physical harm if he remained locked up in Cook County Jail. Really? So what? So what? You think pedophiles that get put in prison, they care about them from getting harmed? Sorry. Are you saying that you don't trust the judicial system or the prisons to do their jobs? Is that what you're saying? You're afraid because there's going to be a lot of people in that prison. They're going to beat the fuck out of this guy, and deservedly so. This guy staged a hate crime, and instead of acknowledging, he displayed true narcissistic tendencies, and instead tried to divert and deflect to racism as a means of why he was prosecuted and found guilty. It's because I'm a black man. No, it's because you're a racist that just so happens to be black. You tried to push America even further into this race war by staging a hate crime. You had overwhelming evidence against you. The check that you wrote. Come on, man. Come on. And then when you're sentenced, I'm not suicidal, trying to paint this picture as if the judicial system is out to get you. I'm sorry, but you're not that important, Jussie. You're not. You're a headline. You're a joke on the international stage for what you perpetuated to help further divide in America based upon race. And then men like me come out there that are the opposite skin color and call you out for your bullshit, and yet we're the ones accused of racism that you perpetuated. I'm sorry, but on the terms of social media, I have not seen near amount the levels of racism displayed by black people that I have white. Don't get it wrong. There's on both sides, but I challenge you. You go look at posts from Snoop Dogg and the rest of these clowns, and you go read the comments by these prominent black figures, and you see first and foremost where they stand. They do not like white America. They hate you. You should see some of the things they comment and say. Now, of course, I am not saying all black people are like this. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying racism does exist in the black community, even more so than people want to give it credit for. They don't want to, because again, if we discredit the black voices in America due to those that are screaming out in racist tones, well, we can't have that. We can't have that, right? Absolutely not. The black community must be protected at all costs, because if we show any negativity towards them, it devalues the overall statement they say in regards to racist America. Crazy to me. Crazy to me. This is a joke. The judicial system is a joke, and you wonder why nobody respects it. It's ridiculous. The actor, who is now a convicted felon, was also sentenced to 30 months of probation in order to pay restitution of the $120,000 and a fine of $25,000. In January of 2019, Smollett had claimed he was physically attacked by 2 men, blah, 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 blah. During Smollett's trial, prosecutors showed how the former Empire actor had gone through extraordinary lengths to stage the attack against himself, and how he hired paid Nigerian brothers Abel and Ola Osandreo $3,500 to carry out the attack. This was proven. In a court of law. He was tried and convicted by a jury of his peers. What else do you want? No, what you want is an innocent verdict. That's what you want. And if you don't get it, well, then it's racism. Then the system has systemic racism. Yeah, I'm sure it does. We're to the point now where white America, we just roll our eyes like, yeah, sure it is, dude. Sure it is. Okay. Instead of pointing out the situations where actual racism existed, you double down on these situations and you get all these black bad faith actors like Kamala Harris and the rest of them to come to your defense because we got to protect our own. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Imagine if white people were the same way. Didn't do nothing. Sure. Oh, such a good guy on his way to college. He was going to cure cancer. It's always the same story. It's some piece of shit. And naturally, he gets gunned down or whatever the case may be. And suddenly he goes from piece of shit to where he was like Mother Teresa incarnate. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Tired of hearing it. So I'm just tired of hearing this shit. Nobody cares anymore. Now, if you know me, if you've been watching or listening to the podcast, did I not call this months ago? Fox finally picked it up. National Guard troops were dispatched to famous Texas ranches with private security as part of the border mission, Operation Lone Star, that Governor Greg Abbott initiated to give Biden administration a big fuck you for not protecting the southern border. Also, manipulated National Guard troops to protecting large campaign donors. He utilized National Guardsmen to guard these ranches, and it's insane. You remember 2 or 3 months ago when I came to you and said, hey, I've got multiple sources in different units confirming this. These sources don't know each other. And I called this like 1 or 2 months ago. Oh, why are you hating on Greg Abbott? Are you pulling for Beto? I mean, can we not say that I agree with some of Abbott's policies, but this right here is ridiculous? This is ridiculous. Earlier this year, about 30 Texas National Guard members were ordered to stand watch outside some of the most prestigious private ranches in southern Texas, more than an hour's drive away from the Mexico border, as part of Governor Greg Abbott's highly touted mission to curb illegal immigration. Placed at spots along U.S. Route 77 running north to Corpus Christi, including sprawling and renowned King Ranch and the GOP-connected Armstrong Ranch, the troops were ostensibly meant to deter migrants and smugglers who might cross through private ranches to avoid detection at U.S. Border Patrol checkpoint near the city of Sarita. But service members with firsthand knowledge of the mission told the Texas Tribune that troops rarely saw migrants from their posts nearly 80 miles away from the border and were unable to pursue them if they did because they were not authorized to enter the private ranches if they saw migrants cutting through. So then what the fuck was the point? You ripped away these National Guardsmen from their daily lives, their civilian employers, to go have them be private security for your GOP donors. Corrupted government officials like Greg Abbott are fucking pieces of shit. What are you doing? You tout as if you are protecting the southern border, yet you've got National Guard troops, and these aren't the only people, by the way. There's more. And you've got National Guard troops 80 miles from the border? Explain to me how that helps curb illegal immigration. And many of those troops even said they weren't even allowed. They weren't even allowed to pursue these migrants, these illegal immigrants. Weren't even allowed to. All they could do was call and report. And then Border Patrol would go pick them up, take them to a hotel, process them, and then cut them loose into America. This is a joke. We are being lied to from both sides. Greg Abbott is not protecting the southern border, not to the full extent that he could be. And why did you wait so fucking long? Why did you wait so long? Up. Because elections are coming up. I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of these political figures only giving a shit, only actioning anything to help America when it comes time for midterms or it comes time to a real... Dude, I'm over it. In practice, service members said they stood around for hours staring at each other and the highway outside the private ranches, some of which had their own private security. We really don't understand why we were here, the service member told the Tribune. We're essentially mall security for ranches that already have paid security details to protect them. The Texas Tribune is not identifying the service members because they were not authorized to speak to the media and feared retaliation. Those troops said their time was wasted standing guard outside ranches with wealthy or politically connected owners when they could have been more useful at other posts closer to the border, when they could be more effective to the mission, which is known as Operation Lone Star. I'm telling you, I'm sick of these fucking politicians. I'm sick of you. The service members are no longer stationed outside the private ranch, a service member said. They were removed in February, shortly after the Texas Tribune began asking questions about the deployment. Colonel Rita Holton, a spokesperson for the Texas Military Department, said the agency could not comment on the deployment because of the operational security concerns. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Are you not seeing this woke military defending these politician hacks? Oh, we can't comment on it because of operational security. Please, I beg you, you tell to me what operational security could be compromised when asking questions about why are you positioning National Guard troops at these private ranches? How many millions did Abbott float? How many millions did he secure in funding to finance this border wall fiasco? You were doing something good and you fucked it up. Woke generals. Pieces of shit. They don't even stand for the American people or the Constitution. They protect these corrupted politicians. And let me take it a step further. For those out there war hawking for getting involved with Ukraine even further. Let's say that we do. Let's say that Putin, if he does take Ukraine, we're going to get into this later in the show. Let's say that Putin does take Ukraine. And he doesn't stop there. And we get pulled into an actual war. Do you really think Biden is the president you want as a wartime president? You really think this administration has the ability to be a wartime administration? We've got Biden, who confuses his own wife with the VP. You've got a VP that doesn't know geographically, where Poland is. She didn't even know that Ukraine was not even a part of NATO. You want these people dictating war, how we're going to fight this war. You want the likes of Lloyd Austin, black supremacist, who tried to root out the extremists within the ranks that were just Republican supporters, and General Woke Miley. You really want these people spearheading operations against Russia. Really? That's insane to me. This guy can't even secure our southern border. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. People say, John, if something kicked off, would you re-enlist? For Biden? Fuck no. Fuck no. It's not our war. The dispatching of troops to wealthy private ranches raises more questions about the use of National Guard troops, who have widely decried the mission as aimless, political, and oversized, as the cost of the effort has already ballooned to $2 billion a year. State leaders transferred nearly $500 million to the Texas Military Department last month from 3 other state agencies to cover the mounting costs of keeping, thousands of Texas National Guard troops on the southern border. You are wasting taxpayer money. You are wasting the time of those soldiers. If you're not going to use them effectively, send them home. This once again highlights the issue that we have in America, that troops are expendable. There is no care or concern to their families. the pay issues they underwent, the living conditions, the chow conditions. This seems to be a reoccurring issue here. The rich elites that are untouchable don't give two flying fucks about you. State Senator Juan Choi Hinojosa Adam McAllen, who represents a border district and sits on a committee overseeing border security efforts, said the reports of National Guard service members stationed at private ranches in the state's interior were disturbing. He said, I have no objections to them being on the border, he said, but I certainly have concerns with military presence at private ranches. It would be a waste of time and of resources. There's better use of National Guard on the border, not in the interior. National Guard, I will give you credit, but I will tell you this. If I was there and they said, your job is to guard this private ranch, you better believe I'd be turning in my weapon, cashing up my uniform and saying, fuck you, I'm out. This is a waste of my time. When I got a family to feed, and you got me here pulling checkpoint security at a private ranch that's one of the big GOP donors of Abbott's campaign, get the fuck out of here. No. Following orders doesn't mean following orders blindly. It's not what it means. When you stood up, when you mobilized the National Guard for Operation Lone Star, the intent was to secure the southern border, not private ranches. And the other thing that confirms this was a joke is that they couldn't even go on the private ranches to go after the illegal immigrants and the very few that they actually saw. So then what was the point? What was the point? Dude, if you're in the military, I don't understand how you serve this joke of administration. If you're in the National Guard in Texas, I don't understand how you serve this joke of a governor we've got. It's just more and more and more. Bro, I'm at a loss. How the fuck did we have politicians that once stood for something right and were doing pretty good pull this BS? Abbott is a fucking joke. A fucking joke. Abbott's declined to comment and referred questions to the Texas Department of Public Safety and Texas Ministry Department. Not much to do. Abbott kicked off Operation Lone Star last March and ramped up its scale in September, leading into involuntary deployments with only a few days' notice for part-time troops who have civilian jobs, lives, and families. He eventually deployed 10,000 troops to the mission, many of whom have said they were not given a clear task or adequate training, equipment, or lodging. A leaked survey of members of one of the 6 Operation Lone Star units found widespread skepticism and frustration with the mission. On Monday, Abbott replaced the Texas Military Department's top leader after months of criticism. In January, the Texas Military Department sent troops to stand guard outside the famed King Ranch, the largest ranch in the United States, which covers more ground than the state of Rhode Island. It also sent troops to the Armstrong Ranch, the property of a longtime Republican family that has hosted GOP leaders like Karl Grove, former Governor Rick Perry, and former Vice President Dick Cheney. In an infamous 2006 incident, Cheney accidentally shot his friend in the face during a hunting expedition at the Armstrong Ranch. Troops were also sent to stand guard outside the ranch where Kennedy County Judge Charles Burns lives. Burns is a Democrat. Let me read that for you again if you're still not getting the clear picture here. This is not a right or left versus issue. This is a people versus a government issue. Troops were also sent to stand guard outside the ranch where Kennedy County Judge Charles Burns lives. Burns is a Democrat. Does that not scream classism to you? We protect the important people, but fuck the rest of the civilians, right? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Jay Kleberg, a member of the family that owns King Ranch, who is running for land commissioner as a Democrat, said in a written statement that Operation Lone Star is a colossal waste of taxpayer dollars and a serious threat to the health and safety of our Texas National Guard. That's funny. They're guarding your ranch. A member of the family that owns the King, unless he's not involved in this, it's your family. He said he did not have information on where the service members were stationed, but it was beyond time to end Operation Lone Star. If it were up to me, these Texans would be home with their families and back at their jobs, not wasting their time on our border. The deployment, along US 77 consisted of multiple stations, each staffed with 2 service members and a Humvee at any given time. 10 National Guard service members were posted along the highway leading to Sarita checkpoint. With 3 shifts throughout the day, 30 service members were required daily to set up points along private properties near the highway. Honestly, there's not much to do, if anything at all, said the second service member. It's pretty boring just standing here for 8 hours. At the end of their shift, service members then had to drive back to their living quarters in Harling, about 60 miles away. State officials said the Texas Department of Public Safety and Texas Military Department deployed personnel to that area at the request of Kennedy County Sheriff's Office, a local property rights association, and local landowners who were seeing migrants and smugglers across the properties to circumvent the Sarita checkpoint. So you're asking for this help, but what are you doing with them? You got them standing out there. Clear as day. That's not going to deter anything. You go out and you go after them. You go after these migrants. You start doing patrols. You fucking kidding me? This is not difficult to comprehend. This is not difficult to facilitate. It's not hard. Anybody with a modicum of combat operational experience knows how to go out there and get these illegal immigrants. I wouldn't say it's easy, but certainly not standing at a fucking checkpoint with a Humvee silhouetting yourself against the God knows what, showcasing. You think these illegal immigrants don't communicate and show where these checkpoints are at? Come on. Once again, bureaucrats running this state, running this country, don't know what they're fucking doing because they ignore the foot soldiers' complaints. Now, don't get me wrong. Not all complaints should be actioned on because Joe is going to bitch. Joe loves bitching. Joe's always going to bitch. But when you have a lot of voices coming out saying, hey, there's an issue. We have no operational direction. We have no mission. Is that not the very definition of leadership that we were taught in the military? To provide purpose, direction, and motivation? Where is any of it? You've got none. We do not have leadership in Texas. We've got a joke of a governor that is wasting taxpayer money. It's a joke. That's why I was really hoping Alan West would have won. But we're stuck with Abbott. This guy needs to get his head out of his ass. All right, moving on. This stuff's a joke. It's just a real joke. All right, remember, let me again. I got to pat myself on the back. How did I not say this? Did I not say this? And people said, you're blowing it out of proportion. I remember talking about this on the show. I remember posting about it. But when Fox picks it up, we're good. Then it's real, right? I said this, and nobody fucking listened. Well, I mean, some people did. I passed it to Crenshaw. He said, Abbott's going to investigate. I'm sure Abbott did. We've investigated ourselves and found ourselves to be innocent. You don't say. You don't fucking say. You got to love that. You got to love that. Now, remember what we talked about with the sanctioning of Russia and the Russian populace of civilians that want nothing to do with this war. Papa John's franchise, controller on Russian shops, not closing. At the end of the day, they appreciate a good pizza, and I agree with Papa John's on this one. An American franchise operator of Papa John's location in Russia confirmed this week that shops his company controls in the country are not closing. In staying open, master franchise Christopher Wynn argued in a New York Times interview shared Tuesday, he's showing compassion to the Russian people. Yes, I agree with this. Imagine this, if you will. And this is where my train of thought comes from, okay? America got involved in a war in the Middle East. Like a war in the Middle East, right? And people felt around the world it was an illegal war. Still no weapons of mass destruction. Now, what if as a result, all of these countries started boycotting America and calling for sanctions against us? And a lot of civilians did not want to go to war in the Middle East. But now economically, they're being punished for what the administration is doing through no fault of their own. How is that right? Yet if we do it to Russia, it's suddenly justified. What happened to Stop Asian Hate in regards to COVID? Don't blame the Chinese. It was China that released it. America funded it. That's where my train of thought goes. The best thing I can do as an individual is show compassion for the people, my employees, franchises, and customers without judging them because the politicians in power. I fully agree on this. World governments are getting us into these pointless fucking wars. The best thing I can do, when the 45-year-old founder of the PJ Western Group told the paper, in fact, per win, the foot traffic at locations in Russia was at its normal rate as recently as late last month. The vast majority of Russian people are very clear-headed and understand the dark gravity of the situation they're in, Wynn said, and at the end of the day, they appreciate a good pizza. And in short, the 190 Papa John's locations in Russia are mostly owned by Russians via a franchise agreement with PJ Western, with Wynn founded in 2006. The group later acquired the master franchise for Papa John's Russia at a time when there was just 4 locations in the Moscow area. Recent stats, including the addition of 10 new locations in Russia, show that PJ Western has since expanded to control more than 240 stores in multiple countries. This month, the Atlanta, Georgia headquartered Papa John's International announced the suspension of its corporate operations in Russia. In a press release, a rep also noted that Papa John's International is not currently receiving any royalties from these franchise stores in Russia, adding the company doesn't own or operate any locations in the country. The U.S. companies have made similar announcements following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, including McDonald's and Starbucks. Good for Papa John's. Fuck the governments. Make money, bro. If the bureaucrat's going to make fucking millions off of it, make money. I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. We're trying to cancel Russia for all the wrong fucking reasons. You're trying to destroy the citizens, the civilian population. What good does this do? Jesus. Pour out your Russian vodka. It's dumb. This is dumb. Why should the Russian people be made to suffer for the actions of a madman? Why should American people be made to suffer for the actions of Bush when he invaded the Middle East? Doesn't make sense to me. That's why war is stupid. I shouldn't say stupid. It's horrible. It's disgusting. Innocent people suffer as a result. Biden to talk about war in Ukraine with Chinese President Friday. President Biden will talk by phone with Chinese President on Friday. The pair will address Russia-Ukraine war, competition between China and the U.S., and other topics. Dude, I have no faith in Biden. I have no faith. I think Biden is handling this as best he can, quite honestly. I've said before, I think Biden is doing the right thing. But at the same token, there needs to be a cutoff. How much are we going to donate? How much are we giving Ukraine? What's the line in the sand? Ukraine has come out and said they don't want to join NATO. Okay. Okay. Then why are we getting involved here? Oh, because Russia's bad. You think Ukraine's all good? I was talking to Crenshaw about this today. Hopefully he's going to come on the show because he and I do not agree on this one. And all these warmongers and Fox News pushing this propaganda, tugging at the emotional. It's like people don't understand what's going on with the manipulation of the press. Well, they're not actually calling for war, John. They are setting the emotional stage for when that or if it should happen. They will have overwhelming American support. Fox News is pushing this bullshit. The article I posted about today. Opinion from Fox News. The battle for Kiev is coming and will be brutal unless we act now. The battle for Kiev's already here. It's already brutal, and we've already been acting. What the fuck are you talking about? Stop the sensationalism. This idea that we have to have emotional involvement in this Does war suck? Yes. Do women and children and men dying suck? Yes, it does. But better them than Americans. Oh, it's a horrible thing to say. That's the world we live in. 2004, 2008, 2014. Guys, I'm telling you, America is not the good guy that we've been taught to believe. And this is me, a patriot that loves my country but hates my government. America has blood on its hands. We are interventionists. We are interventionists beyond more so than our founding fathers ever wanted us to be. Now, I understand geopolitically, military strategies. I get it. It's been like that since the dawn of superpowers. I get it, 100%. But there has to come a time where we back off. Well, John, Putin's going to take Ukraine and keep going. You really think that? You really think he's going to do that? His economy's in shambles. His country is turning against him. His army is taking a fucking beating in Ukraine. You really think he's going to push beyond Ukraine and risk an all-out war with NATO? I don't see that. Stretching your forces so... I don't even think he's going to be able to hold Ukraine. Kyiv has been a bloodbath. Even I did not see Kyiv holding this long. I did not. They're doing an incredible job. But all we're seeing is this mosh pit of governments, including our own, strategically posturing throughout, Jesus, I don't know how many years now. Bush Sr. lied to Putin about NATO expansion. Let me explain this to people that don't seem to understand this. Putin's not all in the wrong on this. Our administration has lied repeatedly to Putin. Putin's not a good guy, but neither are we. Neither is Ukraine. But ultimately, it's going to be our children that get sent off to die for these bad faith actors doing this. That's my point. Starve the war machine of bodies, and the war machine goes away. And I know that's not practical. I know that's not realistic. You're always going to have these young, impressionable people that want to serve. I was one of them. I got fed the big propaganda lie. Freedom ain't free. We'll put a boot in your ass because it's American way. But then you start waking up and you start asking questions. It's like, wait a minute. Hold on. You're telling me in 2014, the Obama administration had direct knowledge of what was going on in Ukraine. A democratically elected legal government was violently overthrown and installed a pro-Western government. And then pro-Russian loyalists get shelled and over 14,000 killed as a result. Whether that be considered right or wrong, that is none of our business. And then what happens? All these other countries, after Bush Sr. had promised Putin no more NATO expansion, all the Baltic states, boom. It's the equivalency of, say, like China and Russia start negotiating deals with Mexico and Canada. Do you think America would tolerate that? Fuck no. It's military presence on our borders. So why, if we wouldn't be for it, why would Russia? The Cuban Missile Crisis. Explain that to me. I've had so many conversations. You think we actually have American weapons in Ukraine? You think we don't? We already have biolabs. That's been confirmed. And then you got your Mitt Romneys out there calling your Tulsi Gabbards traitors. Treason. These boomer politicians are fucking horrible. God forbid, oh my God. They're so ready to send young men off to die. If you really think you are not being emotionally manipulated right now, I called Crenshaw on this. He said there's no Russian propaganda. It's like, Crenshaw, you're pushing propaganda. You're kidding me. I'm sorry, but there comes a line, there comes a time when you got to sit there and say, hey, I understand that we have to posture ourselves and protect American interests, but let's let Ukraine play out. If Putin takes Ukraine and he stops there, fair enough. Ukraine knew Russia was coming and they did nothing. They knew it for 8 months. The EU was responsible for Georgia getting the shit kicked out of it. Go do your research on these historical events and see why they transpired. It was not just Russian aggression. They were provoked. And I have to sit here and clarify this statement repeatedly because narrow-minded morons don't seem to get this. This does not make me a Putin apologist. That does not mean I'm rooting for Putin. But on the international political stage, when you poke a bear and the bear bites you, you do not get to cry victim. You brought this on yourself. EU and NATO are a bunch of goddamn international bullies, and we've backed them. We've backed them. I challenge you to go do your research. I challenge you. Here's another video. Go look up Why is Ukraine the West's Fault? Featuring John Mersheimer. Go look it up. We watched it on stream one night. Go look up the history of Ukraine and America's involvement, and you will see that we have actually compromised our word as America multiple times to Russia. So all this Russia-phobia that we've been fed, all this propaganda was bullshit. We, under the Obama administration, said that we should have this sphere of influence into the Baltic states outside of NATO and said Russia should not be allowed to. What gave Obama the right to tell Russia that? And I know the simplistic argument in most Americans' minds, well, fuck Russia, America's better. Bro, it doesn't work that way. There has to be mutual agreement and respect of existence. I would rather work with Russia and China than be at war with them. Because what's going to happen as a result? This does not mean I agree with China's politics. It does not mean I agree with Russians' politics or how they run their countries. In fact, I'm in disagreement with them. But if you want to base doing business based upon your set of morals and principles, then you better find me a lot of countries out there that import into America that align with our core values. It's going to be insanely difficult. Or you just let the world be the world, we do our trade, and we just leave it the fuck alone. You cannot sit there and impose your moralistic beliefs on other countries, especially when they don't want it. Did we not learn from the Middle East for 20 years? They don't want democracy. They want a theocratic-based dictatorship. That's what they've had for so many generations, and you will not change them. Far be it from us as the West that has grown fat and lazy off the fruits provided by freedom and democracy, to sit there from our lavish ivory tower saying, we think you should deserve this. Fuck no. You want it, you go die for it. If you don't die for it, it's not my problem. These bleeding hearts on both sides of this aisle are going to get us into another war. I'm telling you, just watch. Just fucking watch if this continues. And we're being manipulated from all sides here. All sides. Fox publishing this bullshit non-stop. You know what you're doing. You are conditioning the American people so that if Biden does make the call for a no-fly zone, and I hope he doesn't, right now he's not, or anything gets compromised to actually support the Ukrainian pushback on Russia, we are in all-out war. Have we not learned from history? You talk about propaganda. Zelensky addresses Congress in this tear-jerking video. Very well done. Crenshaw shared it, and I just rolled my eyes at it. Anybody could piece together videos and pictures depicting the atrocities and horrors of war and use that to manipulate the people through propaganda to be on your side. That's all this is. And then Zelensky. World War III may have already been started. No, it's not, thank God. And I don't want it to. In an interview with NBC's News, Lester Holt, Ukrainian President Zelensky suggested that World War III may have already started. Holt asked Zelensky if he understood President Joe Biden's hesitancy to escalate tension with Russian President Putin during the invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky said that nobody knows whether it may have already started. Yeah, we do. We most assuredly do. It's called World War, and right now it's Russia and Ukraine actually doing the fighting. The rest of us are at war via proxy Ukraine. I'm watching China. I'm waiting for China. Well, nobody knows whether it may have already started and what is the possibility of this war if Ukraine will fall. In case Ukraine will fall, Zelensky told Holt through a translator on Wednesday. It's very hard to say, and we've seen this for 80 years ago when the Second World War had started and there were similar tragedies in history. Poland didn't provoke Hitler. I love how people are trying to phrase this and make these comparisons that are not accurate. There are way more details that go into this. What? Are you kidding me with this? You're kidding me. Look, I get where Zelensky's coming from. I'm taking off my jacket. It's a little warm in here. I get where Zelensky's coming from as a leader of a nation. I get it. You're going to do everything in your power to protect your people, and I admire and respect him for that. I honestly do. But no, this is not a world war. Not yet. He added, nobody would be able to predict when the full-scale war would start and how it would end, and now Putin ends, and how Putin ends to that. In any case, the war tends to end up in millions of people lost, people die, millions of buildings destroyed. Now we have different technologies, nuclear weapons. In this case, we have the whole civilization at stake. Zelensky went on to say that should Russia overtake Kiev, the Ukrainian people are unconquerable. That is what our people have clearly demonstrated, he advised. Through our weapons, through our money, through NATO's alliances. That, again, you're not even a member of NATO, and we are backing you. This opens the door for future issues similar to this of countries that are not involved with NATO. And I know Ben Shapiro's argument as far as the whole buffer between NATO countries and Russia. Well, guys, I mean, if you're talking about there's a buffer zone between Ukraine, well, what about these other little tiny NATO countries here? They're already there, buffers. That's not an excuse. Yeah, those countries are also 100% dependent on foreign oil, Ben. They're 100% dependent on foreign oil. You think they're going to buck the system that is actually keeping them powered? Stop. Come on, stop, dude. Stop. It's ridiculous. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, Belarus, all 100%. 100% relying on Russian oil. And you think they're going to buck the system if NATO comes calling? Get the fuck out of here. These guys are double dipping. They get NATO protections. You get Russian deals. You think they're going to buck against Russia? Fuck no, they won't. Georgia tried in 2008 and got their asses stomped. EU was sitting there running their mouths, backing Georgia. Georgia flexed on Russia. Russia knocked the fuck out of them. It's ridiculous. And here you have this. Propaganda on both sides, right? Russia intends to go further than Ukraine. Must stop diplomacy of deception. Former foreign minister. A former Russian foreign minister told Fox News Digital that Russia needs to return to international norms before meaningful talks and relations can occur. What are international norms? You've already sanctioned the shit out of this guy. You tried to essentially cripple him economically. These large-scale corporations have pulled out, destroying Russia from the inside. I get that. You've backed this dude into such a corner so quickly from these sanctions. We want to talk about propaganda from all sides. Listen to this. Listen to the tone of this. Again, this is a former Russian foreign minister saying this, who's naturally against Putin. A former Russian foreign minister told Fox News Digital that Russia needs to return to international norms for medium blah, 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 blah. Okay. Andrei Kozyrev, who served as Russia's foreign minister from 90 to 96, said that the West and Russia will remain at odds until Russian rulers start to behave with the international norms. I think when Russia comes back to honoring the international norms, what about the international agreements that we made, that Obama, that Bush Sr. had made, and then we lied? Again, there were no formal contracts signed, but again, a verbal agreement was made. No more NATO expansion. Russia, Soviet Union was like, enough. It was essentially Russia wanting to stave off Western influence. I get it. We do the same. We did the same with them in the Cold War. So why is Russia not allowed to practice the same approach that America is? Explain that to me, because I don't understand it. Or we just fucking stop. The lines are drawn. Territories are divided. Let it go and let it be. But we can't do that. We have to expand NATO. We have to expand NATO further and further and further. More Western influence. More installing supposed democratic governments. Because you know why? We're attempting to essentially turn more countries against China and Russia with American influence. with NATO as an ally. That's all we're trying to do. No wonder they look at us as expansionists. I get it. It makes sense. Watch Iran. I'm telling you, folks. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous right now. He says, I think when Russia comes back to honoring the international norms and Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity is part of those norms, until they prove they're able to observe those norms, both inside, I mean minimum of human rights, respect for freedom of press, and in their foreign policy, until that, there is no understanding and the sanctions should stand, he said. Kozyrev cautioned that Russia's aims include the whole of Eastern Europe with the intent to attack, to pressure, to intimidate other countries, including members of NATO. And talks with Russia will also prove difficult as Russia practices what Kozyrev called diplomacy of deception. It's like you're sitting there saying, Russia's guilty of deception, but so is America. So you can't sit there and just paint Putin as the only bad guy in this. There's the EU, there's America. All of them are liars. And it's going to be you, the public, the people that will go off and fight these wars. It won't be me. I've already fought my war. A bullshit one. I'm warning you, people. I'm warning you. Watch. It's all talk of lies, you know. He said, it's unbelievable. Kozyrev spoke at length about his work relationship with his then deputy and now current foreign minister Sergei Lavrov, who took office, whatever. He was, you know, my brother in this. Okay, I'm tired of reading this bullshit. Putin's not going to stop at Ukraine. Look, I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I don't feel like my honest assessment of this. I don't think if he does take Ukraine, I don't think he's going to continue. I don't. He can't afford it. His military is stretched thin. His economy is destroyed. He's lost all major allies except for China that we know of. Iran probably as well. I don't think Putin has the longevity to continue pushing past Ukraine. I really don't. That's just my opinion. I am by no means an expert. But when these other experts come out there and are saying, oh, he's not going to stop at Ukraine, based upon what? What? Your feelings? I get why he's wanting to take Ukraine. He's essentially stripped from NATO the ability to dictate who's going to border his country. Now he's got direct control over Nord Stream. In Germany, you put yourself at a disposition to them on your own. America's doing the same fucking thing right now with Biden. Keeping us dependent on foreign power. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. White House coronavirus coordinator Jeff Zients bails on Joe Biden as the president warns of future variants. Shut the fuck up, Biden. Hey, question for anybody listening. Has anybody heard from Fauci as of late? Where's Fauci run off to? I'm trying to. Let me look at this. Where's Fauci? Anybody seen him? Has he pulled a Carmen Sandiego? Where's old Fauci? Not a word. Not a word. Hey, man. You know what Biden's doing right now? He knows COVID is going away. So all he's going to do is make it appear as if he is the one conquering it. So he can try and score a win from this L he's taken for COVID. Hey, Trump doesn't have a plan, but I do. Not even a year into his administration. Hey, the federal government can't stop it. It's up to the states. Dude, you are such a fucking liar. You are such a liar. More lies. Campaign promises that you can't fulfill. Anyone that believed him, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. If you really believe the government could stop this, you're an idiot. The government caused this. Why would you trust them? You think Biden didn't know about the gain of function research over in China? You really don't think he knew that? Come on. They all knew. White House coronavirus response coordinator Jeff Zients announced his decision to depart Thursday after a year of leading President Biden's team. He knows it's a sinking ship. He's getting out. He's getting out. He understands what Biden's doing here. Keep the COVID pandemic going. So that way when it eventually does fizzle out statistically, I can claim like I'm the one that made that happen by keeping it alive. Jen Psaki repeatedly spread disinformation about Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh, the good old laptop. Good old Hunter Biden, crackhead extraordinaire. We have a president that hands out free crack pipes to drug users. You cannot make this shit up. To help stop spreading diseases amongst the drug users. What? You're enabling them. They're going to get it either way. I get it. It's your right to, I feel like, hey, if you want to go smoke crack, smoke crack. You want to go shit up heroin, go do it. But stop publicly funding these rehab facilities. Let these users die. Because it sounds like a horrible thing to say, but when you don't allow this to happen, you tip the scales of action versus reaction. I know if I have $100 to my name and I've got bills to pay, but I go spend that money on bullshit, my lights get shut off and I lose access to my water. If I know I'm going to stick that needle in my arm and inject a substance that is highly addictive, that will destroy my brain and body, and then you remove from me the ramifications of the choices I make, all you've done is enabled me to continue making those bad choices. And here's the other part. If, for some reason, the ramifications of those said choices are death, then so be it. So be it. I have no pity on someone that is sitting on the side of the road, clearly methed out of their fucking head. You chose to do that. I don't give a fuck what led you to that decision. That's tough love right there. And I know people don't like hearing, well, John, what about the veterans with PTSD? I've got it. A lot of my brothers have it. It does not give you the right to go out there. I mean, it does. You have the right, but it does not give you the high ground to sit there and say, PTSD made me shoot up. No, it didn't. You chose to do that. PTSD did not remove from you the ability of free choice. You chose to do it. You chose to engage in an act that's going to take you even further. Like, in what world do we live that you can sit there saying, I've got this issue that is bugging the shit out of me that I cannot deal with. So in order to combat that, I'm going to go and become reliant upon an addictive drug, voluntarily, might I add, that will rot my brain body. It'll make me fucking just crazy, unemployable. And then you turn around and you tell me that we should help them with my money? When I didn't make those poor choices, and for those that disagree because of how the conversation is structured, because it tugs on your heartstrings, let's take the same argument and do it towards fat people that literally are stuffing their faces, they're getting fat, and then you got to pay for their health care. How is that justified? Because it's the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing. And all these socialists out there, universal health care, you want to pay for that? I don't. Fuck you and your fat ass. You chose to do that. Fuck you and your drug problem. You chose to do that. Just like if I get lip cancer from chewing, I'm not going to sit there and expect the world to pay for my issues that I have to deal with. This is why our country is the way it is. We have removed the ramifications or the consequences of our actions because instead we look to daddy government to serve as a means of protecting it from ourselves. That's why the government has so much power. How do we not see this? I am not the sharpest crayon in the chandelier, but fuck me sideways. Even I see it. And people like me, oh, you're too cold-hearted, John. We need more cold hearts in this world. We need more of us. You need men like me on that wall. I'll tell you what. I will tell you what right now, and you're not going to like hearing this. You want to know how to end this immigration issue we've got at that southern border? You use military to go out there and you start engaging. You can use non-lethal rounds. You start dropping these motherfuckers. You end it right the fuck now. You want to try and cross that border illegally? Good luck. You're playing with your life. Oh, did you see the news article the other day? Cartel in a little town close to Texas border. Cartel go out there in front of a police station, shoot it up, light cars on fire because they imprison one of their own. You really want to have dealings with these types? Really? Open border? Really? Because if you think they're not coming across this border, you're out of your fucking mind. And all the leftists out there, oh, they're not illegal humans. Really? Because they're fucking sex trafficking. They're sex trafficking, like, what is it, 74% of women that come across the board through coyotes are victims of sexual, basically rape? Suddenly you don't care. It's ridiculous. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki repeatedly spread disinformation about Hunter Biden's laptop before and after the 2020 presidential election. Psaki's public statements on the laptop are receiving more scrutiny after the New York Times, here's this, after the New York Times finally reported Wednesday that emails from the laptop as authentic after leading the charge to dismiss them during the 2020 election. Wow. Did we not see CNN do this? Did we not see CNN do this with the Steele dossier? The massive Russian hoax? I'm starting to notice a trend. It's the Democrats trying to project onto Russia. Russia's meddling in our elections. Russia this, Russia that. Why is that? And yet you come out in a dossier that was sponsored by Hillary Clinton's administration, or Hillary Clinton and her crew. It was proven to be false. CNN comes out years later and said, oh, by the way, not a big deal. It's false. And now the New York Times comes out and even admits the Hunter Biden laptop was real. It's too late. When asked about the authenticity of the laptop in December, Psaki said she neither had the time nor interest in reading a book about the subject. Of course you don't, because you're a fucking cunt. You're a lying cunt. Fuck this woman. Fuck this administration. Liars. Provocateurs. Bad faith actors. This government is so fucking corrupt. So corrupt. And you voted for him. You voted for this. All 81 million of you, apparently. Are you happy with what you've got? Dude, if you're a Democrat right now and you are still fawning over President Biden, dude, I don't know what is wrong with you. I don't understand how you can defend this administration. This country is on fire. Far worse than under Trump. Under Trump, the media made the projection that we are on fire when in reality we were not. But now the country is, hey man, unemployment's at an all-time low. No, it's not. You had hundreds of thousands of people fired from their jobs because they didn't want to get your fucking vaccine. These people should have been strung up. Medical tyranny, discrimination. How the left clamored for all this racial prejudice when it comes to medical. Oh, well then it's different. Then it's different. The whole my body, my choice goes out the fucking window, right? Now, this is from CNN. U.S. won't close skies in Ukraine, Defense Secretary says. No-fly zone means you're in a conflict with Russia, and he's 100% right. Now you have these bad faith actors on the right, these intellectual geniuses out here writing these articles. I saw this one dude who's got his blue check on Twitter. Apparently he's a conservative. Actually, a no-fly zone would not equate to us being in a war with Russia. Yes, the fuck it will. The only difference is instead of committing ground troops, you're committing troops in an aircraft. That's a direct conflict with Russia. Enforcing a no-fly zone means shooting down Russian aircraft. That's an act of war. So you tell me, you blue check experts, how simplistic it is. If you shoot one of theirs, that's an act of war. It kind of is how, World War I started with an assassination on Archduke Ferdinand by, I think, a Serbian, I think it was. Boom, all-out war. One thing escalated into another. You kill one of ours, that's war. That's why when you had these apologists like Nancy Pelosi of our athletes over in China during the Olympics, just do as they say because, it's China. Democrats are weak leaders. There was a reason Putin waited for Trump to be out of office. If you really don't think that's true, you're a moron. Trump even said, you do it, we'll bomb Moscow. And I believe Trump meant it. And Putin believed him. This is what happens when you put weak leadership in power in D.C. This is what happens. You get what you vote for. So now you got a dementia-riddled moron up there that cannot lead this country. He forgets where he is half the time. He confuses his wife with the VP. He's called the VP the president. This guy is delusional. The king is not wearing any clothes. The king is naked. If you know what that's from, kudos. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if this war in Ukraine escalates to the point where America gets involved, it's going to be trouble. I do not trust this administration. I do not trust this military leadership. We do not need this war. Not under this administration. No. We do not need this. These propagandists out there on all sides of the aisle are trying to manipulate your emotions. Stand strong against it. Look at it for where it is, what it is. We do not need to be getting involved in this. And there needs to be a line in the sand as far as America, interventionism in regards to what we are giving them. Hard no. Hard no. Enough is enough. Over $1 billion in assets to Ukraine. What's the rest of NATO doing? What's the EU? What are they doing? You caused this. What are you doing? Fuck NATO. But hey, let's change these flags to Ukraine. Let's talk about how bad Ukraine has. Oh, poor Ukraine. Yet their buddies caused this. Your buddies caused this. They got you into this position. It's nuts. It's nuts. But there you have it, folks. Watch the news. Watch Fox. Watch CNN. Watch all of them. Watch the MSM. Try and tug on your heartstrings to show the atrocities of war. We already know it's bad. We already know it sucks. Is Russia going to play by the rules? Fuck no, they're not. Again, Biden was questioned yesterday. This is funny to me. How if Russia's so bad and we're so good, Biden was asked a question yesterday saying, President Biden, will you call Vladimir Putin a war criminal? His answer was flat out no. Why not? Why not, Biden? I mean, he is. Why won't you condemn him? I'm sitting here just screaming at the top of my lungs. More and more people are waking up. That's why I appreciate these fan mails that I get. More and more people are listening. Oh, you're just a brovet that screams in a car. That's where I started from, but look at me now. You're listening now, aren't you? You weren't a general in the Middle East. No, you're right. I was a foot soldier, and I saw firsthand what our failed policies in those countries did and led to, how it didn't work. I will not be silenced to these other little brovets out there. Oh, you're one of us. We're ignorant. We don't have an education. That's what you sound like. We're not entitled to opinions because we don't have brass on our chest, or we weren't a Navy SEAL, or we weren't these. Fuck you and that bullshit. Every single one of you has a right to an opinion and to vocalize it and to speak your mind. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And if you think for a fucking second I'm going to be quiet just because you're trying to shame me into a corner, when how many fucking times have I called it and it's been right? It does not take a genius to see what's going on. Do not belittle yourself intellectually into thinking that you can't have a good opinion on what's going on overseas based upon your experiences in the Middle East or what history has shown us as far as American involvement and meddling. So all these experts that we see on TV, a lot of them are fucking morons. And it just so happens they got a PhD next to their name. That does not make you intelligent. That does not make you an expert. It means you got a piece of paper because you studied a bunch of fucking words on a book and you can regurgitate it in standardized testing. Good for you. It does not make you a fucking expert. What makes you an expert is what you're actually saying makes fucking sense and is backed by, number one, historical examples or facts and logic or statistics that you can show. Show me where statistics of any kind are going to say that Putin's going to keep pushing past Ukraine, and I will believe you. If Putin does take Ukraine and he does continue pushing against NATO, then yes, war would be justified. Now he's expanding beyond Ukraine. He violated the treaties, or he violated NATO. I get it. Am I going to go fight? Fuck no, I'm not. Because this was brought on by government meddling. You can send your sons and daughters to go die for this bullshit. Not me. Almost died in the Middle East for their bullshit. Why would I do it for Ukraine? Fuck that. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, all right, guys. I appreciate the love and support. Thank you for all the love on the podcast. Again, we're giving away this other tankard on the Twitch stream right after this. Right after this. So don't go anywhere. If you're watching from YouTube, come over to Twitch. It's the John Burke on Twitch. If you're a subscriber, you're getting this tankard, the possibility to win this tankard, and some Tipsy & Co. supplies. Also, don't forget, shellshockcbd.com. The Irish St. Patrick's Day sale has begun. It lasts until Sunday. 20% off bundle deals on Irish Cream, the new Green Apple Delta 8. We appreciate that. 20% off. Now is your chance to stock up. Our next sale won't be until, I think, the 4th of July. So you can check that out. Again, shellshockcbd.com. Delta 8 and the Irish Cream, two of our top sellers right there. You can get 20% off now. So again, thank you for your love and support. Twitch, don't go anywhere. I'm going to end this, and we'll come back, and we'll give this away at the end of the stream. So again, make sure you go show us some love on the podcast on iTunes. Leave us a good review. Appreciate you guys. I love you. And as for all